I'd like to begin by saying thank you to Dr. Riddell for providing me with the opportunity to present a STEP seminar today. And secondly, I'd like to thank you all for coming out this afternoon. Hopefully you find this informative. So I guess I'll start off by saying why it is I decided to go to grad school. I've always considered myself kind of nerd, and I say that in the most endearing way, and I really think that you need to embrace your inner nerd if you want to pursue graduate studies. It takes a certain level of dedication, hard work, and love of research to keep yourself motivated through your grad program. I was lucky enough to find a niche of English Lit that I really love, and I decided that I was happy in this academic setup and wanted to just keep going. Applying to grad schools can be a bit overwhelming. Luckily, I had a great mentor to help me along the way. But if you don't have an academic Jiminy Cricket guiding you through the process and you want to go to grad school, I will impart with you some of my wisdom. Before you begin the application process, I strongly suggest you think about what it is you want post-undergrad. Grad school is not a slightly more challenging extension of your undergrad. The workload is heavier, your responsibilities as a student are more demanding, and striking that balance to maintain your sanity it's a bit harder to achieve. So my suggestion would be to pursue graduate studies if you're interested in the work and the research, but also feel like you can handle the pressure. So applying to grad school actually starts way before the university applications are due. Early in the fall, you need to start thinking about different scholarships to apply for. Getting into school is one thing, paying for it, however, is another. Most graduate programs will have some internal funding. They'll offer you some sort of package with fellowships or a TA salary, but you should also be applying to external scholarships. Two of the bigger ones to look at are the OGS and the SSHRC. The OGS is the Ontario Graduate Scholarship, and it applies for students interested in Ontario universities, and it is worth approximately $10,000 a year. The SSHRC, or Social Sciences and Humanities Research Council, is a countrywide scholarship, and this is the really big one. The process is much more complex and lengthy, so I suggest you give yourself time to fill out the online application, as well as work on your research proposal and your bibliography. And although you're not obligated to fill out the 2-page proposal or list 5 pages worth of sources for your bibliography, I really suggest you do. It shows that you have thought about your project in depth. And in a slew of applications, you really want to do whatever you can to make your proposal stand out to the selection committee. For a master's program, there is available the J.A. Bombardier Canadian Graduate Master's Scholarship. That's about $17,500 a year. And for a doctoral program, you can be considered for the same scholarship but at the doctoral level, or a doctoral fellowship worth $20,000. The other one's worth $35,000 once you get into your PhD process. Each scholarship is highly competitive, so give yourself time to develop that project. Do your research and compile a strong application package. Before your application even reaches the selection committee at SSHRC or OGS, you have to go through a selection committee at your undergrad university. So just check early in September of the year that you're going to be applying for deadlines, because they change every year. And if you're lucky enough to make it through that initial selection committee, then you get to look forward to the next 4 to 5 months of waiting and not hearing anything. So one of the big things about applying to school is playing the waiting game. It's incredibly frustrating, but you do get used to it. After you've submitted your scholarship applications and grant proposals, you can start thinking about which university you'd like to apply to. Most applications are due mid-January to early February. Maybe you've been thinking about it for a while and you know that there's one program that really fits what you want to do, and you'll just apply to one school and be happy. Or maybe you just think you want to go to grad school in general and you have no idea what's out there. So either way, just make sure you do your research. I really suggest you go online and peruse the different academic websites, scroll through faculty listings, and explore what kind of resources those particular universities can offer to you as a student. This is also the time when you should be talking to your professors. Whether or not they received their PhDs 3 years ago or 30 years ago, they still remember the process and have ties to their specific fields. So they'll be able to tell you which programs have good reputations and which universities can offer better opportunities for their students. So professors are really a great resource during this time, and you should trust their experience and guidance. So once the list of where you want to apply has been finalized, you have to actually start compiling your application package. Applying to grad school is not like applying to your undergrad. They're looking for more than just your transcripts. You really need a strong letter of intent, writing samples, 2 or 3 strong reference letters, and a solid resume. When it comes to the letter of intent, you'll be really happy you did apply for the SSHRC or the OGS because you'll already have come up with a project, a methodology, research questions, and a reason as to why your research is special. You really need to identify why what you propose to do is worth funding or worth giving you a chance to kind of explore further. So take the allotted 2 pages, add a little something about why the specific university you're applying to is best for you academically, possibly propose a potential supervisor. This is when looking through the faculty listings on the websites is really key. Really work smart, not hard, because if you're applying to more than one university, writing 5 or 6 different letter of intents can really be trying. The writing sample can be any good essay you've handed in. If you want to specialize in a certain area and you have a paper that really shows your understanding of that subject, then that's the one you should go with. Most universities ask for the original copy that was handed back to you, but will accept a clean copy, so don't worry about that. And just keep potential writing samples in mind during your first semester when you're picking your essays, because you'll need to have one by early January ready. As for references, you want to ask a professor who can write you a really strong letter of recommendation. Don't be afraid to ask. It's part of a professor's job to write letters for students. You'll most likely want to ask a professor who you've been in more than one class with so that they can really attest to your potential as a student and possibly tell a little bit about your academic involvement with the school. So luckily at Bishop's you have the advantage of knowing your professors remember your name and can actually recall your work. And then finally the resume. As opposed to submitting the same resume you would for a summer job to the graduate committee, you should focus on your academic achievements. So include awards, honors, distinctions, research affiliations, and academic or administrative activities. If you're a member of a club, include it on your CV. If you volunteer at events, include it on your CV. You really want to sell yourself as a desirable and well-rounded academic candidate. Once you've submitted the online application, it's a mad dash to put all of the pieces together and send supporting documents away. I suggest you give yourself a little time to send the packages, or you'll end up like me last year, running around Lennoxville in a frenzy 2 days before the deadline and spending $300 on priority next day shipping envelopes to send everywhere from Victoria to Halifax. It's a highly stressful and ridiculous situation to put yourself in, so if you can, give yourself some time. I really should take my own advice because I didn't do that again this year when I was writing my PhD applications and was running back and forth between campus and UPS every day for almost a week. But you just have to roll with the punches and do whatever you need to do to get your applications in. And once it's all done and you know everything got where it was supposed to on time, you can actually exhale. You won't be breathing for a few days while you're trying to get this all organized. And then you just wait. And you wait, and maybe you start ripping your hair out because you've been waiting for what feels like an eternity. So sometime in March, you'll start hearing back from the various schools you applied to. If you hand them in mid-January, you really will be lucky if you hear back from them around March, end of March, early April perhaps. So don't freak out if you don't hear from them within a couple of weeks. It takes even 2 or 3 weeks just to process all of the applications for you to even see on the My Status on the websites that they got your stuff. And then, one day you'll just get an email or a phone call or a letter will arrive in the mail, and hopefully you find out that you got in. And that is just a really great feeling. You will always remember when and where you found out that you had been accepted to the grad program. In those moments that I received my letters and emails last year, I really understood Sally Field's "You like me, you really like me" Oscar speech. But now that you know the universities like you need to decide which one it is that you like. And that really is a decision only you can make. Of course, people will have opinions, professors, family, friends, they'll all tell you where they think you should go, but you're the one that's going to grad school, so ultimately it's your choice. So I suggest you look really closely at the department, the faculty, the location, and the program requirements. Most offers also will come with a price tag, including an entrance scholarship, maybe an internal fellowship, or a TA salary, and it's really hard not to look at that number and let it hugely affect your decision. So after you've made your pros and cons list and talked to your mom about it several times, take away all of the factors and ask yourself where it is you really want to go. Final words of wisdom, some tips and tricks that I've discovered in the first few months of my MA. Find something to do that is outside of school. All the deadlines and the pressure can be crushing. This initial tiny stress indubitably leads to bigger, I feel like Henry VIII is dancing on my chest stress. And before you know it, life is just a giant ball of stress, and you find yourself crying over a pint of Ben & Jerry's ice cream in the middle of the morning, surrounded by mountains of books, and it's just not good. So despite being insanely busy, try to make time for something that has nothing to do with your work. For some, baking instead of writing is the best option. For others, bad TV can help defog the mind. Shopping can also be a fashionable, albeit very dangerous for your bank account alternative. I've tried them all, but I find the one thing that really helps is running. Simple, perhaps. Cliche, yes. But does it help? It really does. Focusing on my lungs not bursting for 45 minutes a day is a welcome relief when my brain is usually overheating with the to-do list that has become my life. There's the added plus that exercise helps minimize the damaging effects of living on a steady diet of chocolate bars and chips because you don't have time to make real people food. My little cohort at school has become very exercise-oriented this semester. We're going to the gym together after classes, doing yoga on weekends. We're running an English 10K in the spring, so the point is just find something that will stop your head from exploding. As a grad student, living on your own is a really smart idea. You'll most likely be used to the hustle and bustle of having roommates and think you're going to be lonely living on your own, but you won't. You keep crazy hours. Once the semester starts, I'm spending 12 to 16 hours a day in the office, and you're often too scatterbrained to wash dishes or keep your living space tidy enough for another person to live with you. I've only recently rediscovered my dining room table, as it has been covered under mountains of books for the last 2.5 months. It took me 6 trips to and from the library to get rid of them all and start fresh for this year, but that's another perk about being a grad student. They let you take out as many books as you want. Now, if you don't own a slow cooker, buy one. Nothing is better than coming home from a long day at the office, meeting with students, reading and engaging in seminar discussion, to an apartment that smells delicious, and a dinner that requires no more effort than ladling whatever you made that morning into a bowl. Your tired and starving evening self will love your wise and keen morning self. Every few weeks I try to have like a slow cooker weekend where I make several different recipes and freeze individual servings so that I'm actually eating. I eat the same thing, you know, on a 3-day rotation, but it's all right. Sometimes you do need help, so ask for it. It's hard to admit if you're struggling, but it isn't a sign of weakness. Talk to your professors, your friends, the upper year PhDs. Grad school isn't a one-man show, it's a collaborative process. When you're averaging less than 6 hours of sleep a night and more than 6 cups of coffee a day, you're bound to be on edge. So let a fresh pair of eyes edit your paper for you, bounce seminar ideas off of a friend, or chat with your professor. Anyone who is in a grad program who has done a grad program understands the stress that you feel, and they're really just there to help you succeed. Find a way to keep yourself motivated. Although sometimes you'll feel like you're slowly sinking in a pool of quicksand, you will find a way to get everything done because it must get done. This became my grad school mantra last semester. It will get done because it must get done. And it always does. I also personally remind myself that if I survive this year and the subsequent 4 to 5 years it will take to finish my doctorate, I will be Dr. Alison Goff. And I really like the sound of that, so that keeps me going too. And finally, remember that everyone works and behaves differently. Academics are really quirky. Just try not to get too wrapped up in the mind games that come with grad school. So you're pursuing higher education to cultivate your ideas, expand your breadth of knowledge, and hopefully have some fun. Thank you.